I was on my way to the most important exam of my life, when someone shoved me into a river. I missed the test, got sick, lost the chance to ever have children. Years later I found out it was all planned by my fiancé and my best friend. But when life gave me a second chance, I didn't waste it. I gave her the clothes, sent her down the same path, and watched her fall into the trap meant for me. This time I didn't just survive. I made sure they paid for everything. On the way to take the college entrance exam, I was suddenly pushed into a river by someone and ended up missing the test. Because of the cold I caught, I later developed fertility problems. I was the one who brought up breaking off the engagement with my fiancé Ethan, who was about to head off to college. But Ethan refused to agree. Before leaving for school, he insisted on marrying me. After we got married, I took care of his parents and saved money so he could continue his education. Life was difficult, but I accepted it willingly. Thought I was doing it for love. But one day, when I went to see him under the pretense of delivering money, I discovered he was living with my best friend, Lily. The two of them looked just like a loving married couple. When I confronted them, Lily burst into tears, acting all hurt and innocent. Ethan stood protectively in front of her, clearly annoyed with me. Then he said it. Yeah, it was my fault that I hired someone to push you into the water back then. I did it so Lily could get into college. But I married you, didn't I? You've got yourself a husband with a college degree. Isn't that good enough? The shocking truth hit me so hard I had a heart attack. Ethan hesitated for a moment, but Lily simply grabbed his hand and dragged him away. They left me there to die. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day before the college entrance exam. This time I handed the clothes Ethan gave me to Lily. These are a bit big on me, I told her. You can wear them tomorrow to the exam. Lily looked genuinely touched. Yvette, I really hope you don't take the exam, she said with concern. Even though you're the one most likely to get into college, you and Ethan are already planning to get married. Between college and marriage, obviously marriage is more important. What's the point of a woman going to college anyway? If I had a man like Ethan, I definitely wouldn't take the exam. Lily put on her usual act of being kind and thoughtful, giving me advice like she always did. Ever since college entrance exams were reinstated and the three of us, me, Lily, and Ethan, signed up together, she had been saying things like this almost every day. Back then I thought she was just narrow-minded and meant well. But now I was more furious than I had ever been. Because I realized, I had been reborn. Reborn into the day before the exam. Tomorrow, if nothing changed, I would wear the new clothes Ethan gave me, head to the test site, and be pushed into the river by someone wearing a hat. I would miss one of the exams, lose my chance at college, and get an infection that would cost me my fertility. Without competition, Lily and Ethan would both get into college successfully. In my past life, I didn't want to hold Ethan back, so I took the initiative to end the engagement. But he not only refused, he rushed to marry me. I was touched. I spent all my savings to support him through school, stayed home to care for his parents. Since I couldn't have children, his parents constantly looked down on me. I could barely keep my place in that house by constantly providing financial support. I told myself that once Ethan graduated and had a stable job, I'd save up and take the entrance exam myself. But I never expected. It was all a lie. The one who arranged for me to be pushed into the river was Ethan. He did it on purpose, just to give Lily a better chance at college. Thinking about the despair I felt before dying, the pain of being betrayed by the man I loved and the best friend I trusted, I wanted nothing more than to strangle Lily right then and there. But I held it in. Lily rolled her eyes, sensing my expression had soured. Yvette, I'm doing this for your own good. Look how much Ethan cares about you. He's been skipping meals, trading food stamps just to buy you new clothes for the exam. He's such a great guy. What more could you want? I lowered my eyes and let out a soft, mocking laugh without saying a word. That single laugh was enough to enrage Lily. What's that supposed to mean? I'm doing all this for your sake, and that's how you treat me. You owe me an apology. If you don't apologize, I won't forgive you. That didn't surprise me one bit. Lily's family wasn't well off. She had a younger brother to support, so she was always finding ways to squeeze little benefits out of me. But I had calmed down and thought things through. The accident that happened on the way to the test must have been orchestrated by Ethan himself. Lily probably didn't know about it, not yet. If she did, she wouldn't be so tirelessly trying to persuade me not to take the exam. So I sighed and said, Lily, you misunderstood me. I'm just feeling a little overwhelmed by everything with the college exam. After all, Everyone said I was guaranteed to get into college. If I didn't pass, it would be humiliating. Lily rolled her eyes again. So what? Just because you're feeling upset, you get to treat my good intentions like trash. I let my expression shift into guilt, looking helpless and ashamed. After a moment, I said softly, "Don't be mad. How about this? Take the outfit Ethan gave me. It'll look much better on you anyway. Wear it to the exam tomorrow. I'm sure you'll do great." Lily instantly changed her tone, hugging the clothes to her chest like they were treasure. "Now that's more like it," she said. As Lily turned to leave, still holding the outfit, I suddenly stopped her. "Wait." She frowned and snapped. "What? You're giving it to me and now you want it back? Once it's in my hands, it's mine. Don't think you can take it back." I shook my head. "No, that's not it. I just wanted to tell you, don't take the path through the east end of the village tomorrow. Take the longer way around. I heard some other classmates say there's a mentally unstable guy hanging around that area. I'm worried you'll get hurt." Lily brushed it off with a lazy shrug. "Sounds so dramatic. Since when is there a lunatic over there? You're just trying to stop me from stealing the spotlight." I pretended not to hear her and added, "Oh, and one more thing, Ethan gave me that outfit. Don't tell him I passed it on to you. He'll definitely get upset with me if he finds out." Lily gave a quick nod like she was scared I'd start nagging her again. Then she clutched the clothes tighter and ran off excitedly back home. The next morning arrived quickly. I dressed in the plainest outfit I owned. No color, no detail, nothing that would attract attention. I even wore a hat on purpose, tugged low over my face. Then I took the long way to the test site, deliberately avoiding the main path. The one where I knew someone would be waiting. The one Lily would take instead. As I sat down at the test center, my breath caught for a moment, but I forced myself to stay calm. This was my second chance. And I wasn't going to waste it. The test began. Despite all the chaos in my heart, I focused on the questions in front of me. Strangely, many of them felt familiar, like faint echoes from a past life. In my first life, I never got the chance to take this test. This time I did. And I wouldn't let it slip through my fingers again. I don't know how much time passed before the final bell rang, signaling the end of the exam. I handed in my paper, proud of what I'd written. For the first time in years, first time in both my lives, I felt light. I had done it. I walked out of the building ready to head home. But the second I stepped through the gate, I heard it. Voices. Whispers. Clusters of students talking in hushed tones. "Did you hear? One of the test takers got pushed into the river. Almost drowned." "I know, right? They say it was a girl. Something emotional happened. What a pity. This exam is supposed to change your fate, and now she missed it. She nearly died. Forget about the test." I knew exactly who they were talking about. Lily. I had to pinch my thigh hard to stop myself from laughing out loud. Pretending to be shocked, I rushed forward, grabbing the hand of a nearby woman. "Ma'am, do you know the name of the girl who got pushed into the river? I'm also taking the exam, I might know her." The woman flinched at my sudden desperation but replied anyway. "I think her name was something like Snow. Maybe Lily. I just remember it had snow in it. She's lying in a ward up ahead. If you go take a look, you'll know if you recognize her." I ran the rest of the way to the hospital. Lily lay on the bed with her eyes closed, surrounded by crying relatives. For a second I froze. Had she died? Before I could react, her father spotted me and grabbed my arm. "You have the nerve to show up here?" he yelled. "If it wasn't for you pushing her to take the college exam, trying to change her life, how would she have ended up in the river? How would she have fallen unconscious?" Her other relatives jumped in immediately. Everyone finally had someone to blame. All fingers pointed at me. All voices full of fury. "This is all your fault. Lily was such a good girl. Now look what happened. Everyone knows she got dragged into the river by some homeless guy. Who's going to marry her now? She's just a girl. Why did she have to be so obsessed with college? Serves her right. You're going to take responsibility for this. Pip. If Lily can't get married anymore, you'll hand over your dowry. Her brother needs a wife." The more they talked, the more absurd it became. I rolled my eyes. Lily was already an adult. It was her choice to take the exam. What did that have to do with me? "If you're so capable," I snapped, "why don't you go after the person who actually pushed her into the river? Why blame me?" They fell silent. But only for a moment. It's because I don't have parents, right? You think I'm easy to bully. Cowards, all of you. Anyway, I told Lily not to take the exam. With that brain of hers, she wasn't likely to pass anyway. She didn't listen. What do you expect me to do? As soon as I said it, I knew I'd stirred a hornet's nest. The room erupted. If some of them hadn't been too scared to actually touch me, they would have torn me apart. I argued for a few more minutes, then got bored. I turned and walked out of the room without another word. The moment I stepped into the hallway, I saw him. Ethan. He was anxiously checking every room, clearly searching for Lily. I quickly rubbed my eyes to make it look like I had just been crying. When he saw me standing there, perfectly fine, he looked stunned. Then relief washed over him. But almost immediately his face hardened. You're okay? Why didn't you tell anyone? Do you have any idea how worried I was? I've told you again and again to keep a low profile, but you just have to keep making enemies. If I hadn't overheard someone saying you were at the hospital, I'd be out of my mind by now. He fired off his words like bullets. I stared at him blankly, pretending not to hear a thing. It took him a moment to realize my face looked like I'd been crying. Maybe guilt kicked in. Or maybe it was all for show. Either way, he sighed and started to comfort me. All right, don't cry. I wasn't trying to blame you. I'm just worried. You know the saying, the deeper the love, the harsher the words. Don't you understand that what matters is you're okay? Missing the college exam isn't the end of the world. There's always next time. Don't be so upset. Hearing that only made me cry harder. I understand everything you're saying, I choked. But Lily spent so much time preparing for this exam. You know what her situation is. If she doesn't get into college this time, she's going to be forced to marry someone just so they can get dowry money for her brother's wedding. There won't be a second chance. He's my best friend. And now she's in a coma because a stranger pushed her into the river. Her whole life is ruined. How can I not be heartbroken? Ethan's expression twisted like he'd swallowed a fly. Then he grabbed my arm tightly. What did you say? Who did you say got pushed into the river? I blinked at him innocently. Wow. I didn't realize you cared so much about Lily. Weren't you always saying you didn't like hanging out with her? Ethan used to avoid Lily like the plague, just to keep up appearances. He constantly told me how annoying he found her. And like an idiot, I believed him. They must have found my little performance laughable. Ethan especially. For a brief moment his expression shifted, like he realized how foolish he looked, pretending all this time that he didn't care about Lily. But he quickly snapped back into his usual composed self. We're all classmates, he said awkwardly. Of course I care. Just tell me, what happened to Lily? I let out a soft sigh, lowering my voice as if it pained me. She was on her way to the exam when a stranger shoved her into the river. She missed the whole thing. I was so nervous during my test that I completely forgot about you and her. But once I finished, I felt this pressure in my chest, so I came to the hospital. That's when I heard what happened. Ethan stumbled back, swaying like he was about to pass out. If I hadn't reached out to grab his arm, he might have collapsed. That reaction. It was miles away from how he had acted in my past life. Back then, when I was the one who almost drowned, he didn't panic. He didn't rush. He didn't care. But now that it was Lily, he looked like he'd seen death. And I wasn't done yet. If it were just about missing the exam, maybe it wouldn't be so bad, I murmured, lowering my eyes. Let's be honest. Lily didn't have a good chance of getting in anyway. Not unless someone else dropped out. Her grades were never that strong. I let the pause linger. But the real problem, I continued, eyes flicking up to meet his, is that she can't swim. She nearly drowned. A homeless man happened to be nearby and rescued her. Ethan blinked. Speechless. It's summer. People aren't wearing much, I said, feigning discomfort. I heard when the man pulled her out, her blouse was already undone. His pupils dilated. Now her reputation is ruined. What's she supposed to do in the future? And just like that, Ethan shoved me aside and stormed into Lily's hospital room. I followed, of course. I wouldn't miss the next part of the show for the world. The moment Ethan burst into the room, Lily's mother ran to him, grabbing his arm. Ethan, what are we going to do now? She wailed. Didn't you say you had a plan? That you were confident you could get Lily into college? But that homeless guy, he's 50. Not only did he pull Lily out of the river, he gave her CPR. Right there. In public. Everyone saw. Now they're saying he saved her and she should repay him with her body. Lily's only 20. She's my only daughter. How could I possibly let her marry a homeless man? To be fair, she wasn't exaggerating. There was no way they'd let Lily marry someone that poor. Even in modern times, with her falling into the river, being rescued by a man, and experiencing that kind of physical contact in front of witnesses, it really did put Lily in a tough spot. I stood at the doorway, struggling not to laugh out loud. Ethan didn't even glance at me. His face looked worse and worse with every word. In the end, he dropped to one knee beside Lily's bed and clutched her hand. "Lily, wake up. It's Nathan. Come on, wake up." And maybe love really could work miracles. Because a few moments later, Lily actually opened her eyes. She blinked slowly, clearly disoriented. "Why am I here?" Everyone in the room froze. I caught on quickly. It must have been too sudden. She was probably experiencing memory loss. I rushed forward, my voice gentle and tearful. "Lily, you're finally awake. You scared me half to death. It's okay if you didn't get into college. What matters is that you're alive. Your reputation, your innocence. None of that matters. Worst case, you never marry. That's fine. I'd never let you end up with that homeless man." With my patient coaxing, Lily seemed to start remembering. Then all at once she sat up and pointed directly at me. "It was you. You did this on purpose." I froze. "So did everyone else. That outfit, you gave it to me," she shouted. "And before that man pushed me, he called out your name. I turned around and that's when he shoved me. How could she possibly blame me?" Lily's face looked wild, angry, broken, desperate. "If you hadn't made enemies with someone, if you hadn't given me that outfit, this never would have happened to me." Her mother and relatives started piecing it together. Exactly how I'd intended. They turned their fury back on me. "So it really was your fault. That outfit was beautiful. Why would you give it away so easily? What did Lily ever do to you? You're disgusting." I put on a face full of helpless frustration, struggling for words before finally speaking. "How's this my fault? First of all, the clothes were brand new. Nobody even knew they were mine. Second, it's not like I purposely gave them to her. If anything, she took them from me." Lily nearly exploded. "You're lying." I didn't argue further. I just sighed. "Also, I told you yesterday not to take that path. I warned you. There was someone mentally unstable hanging around. I didn't want you to get hurt. If I really planned this, why would I warn you?" Lily's face darkened, but she wasn't done. "There's been a mentally ill man at the village entrance for years. Everyone passes by just fine. Your so-called warning meant nothing." I didn't bother responding. Instead, I calmly added, "And another thing, he called my name. Why did you respond?" The room went silent again. "If, like you say, it was someone I offended who was coming after me, why would you turn around when they called me?" They didn't have an answer. Because they were starting to realize the truth. But even more importantly, they couldn't disprove the logic I laid out. I smiled inwardly. Step by step, the noose was tightening. The room fell quiet. Not because they agreed with me, but because my words struck a chord none of them could ignore. Even Lily had no answer. She was still pointing, trembling, but her accusations no longer had the bite they'd carried moments before. I let the silence simmer. "Even if I didn't want her to take the exam," I added softly, "what would I gain from that? I've always been good to her. You all know that." The room remained frozen. They were unreasonable, yes. But even they couldn't argue with logic that plain. "Yeah, I told Lily not to take that path. And if someone called my name," I paused and looked straight at Lily, "why did you answer?" She looked like she'd been slapped. Her mouth opened, then closed again. They were confused, but I wasn't. I knew exactly what was going on. Lily and Ethan had been involved for a long time. They'd taken advantage of me for years. Used me, drained me, all while pretending to care. I had been the golden goose. Smart, popular, well-liked wherever I went. People often called out to me in the streets, hoping to befriend me. Lily, afraid I'd grow distant, used to copy me, pretend to be me. That way she could block others from getting close. And also scope out better options for herself. Should someone more valuable appear, she'd be the one to intercept. I'd known it deep down. But I trusted her too much. I convinced myself everything she did was for my sake. Now I saw clearly. So did Ethan. He turned furious. "Shut up. No matter what, this is your fault. Lily took the fall for you. If you don't feel guilty, fine, but how dare you act so arrogant? His voice rose, each word sharper than the last. As your fiancé, I'm ordering you to take responsibility. My breath caught, but I didn't move. Since your mistake caused Lily to lose her chance at college, you should give her your spot. Let her take your place at school. And as for you, marry that homeless guy instead. Pause. Then the entire Chong family lit up. Their eyes sparkled with sudden joy. Greedy, gleeful, disgusting. I didn't agree. But I didn't refuse either. I just let out a long sigh. The one who really caused all this is the man who pushed Lily into the river. I looked Ethan square in the eye. Don't worry. I've already reported it to the police. They'll investigate and find out who did it. That person will be held responsible. The smile fell off Ethan's face like a mask torn away. Panic settled in his features. What? You called the police? Why would you do that? But it was too late. The door to the hospital room swung open. And in walked 2 officers. Before they could say a word, the Chong family swarmed them. Officers. You're just in time. This girl ruined my daughter's life. Kept her from college. Destroyed her reputation. She needs to pay compensation. If she hadn't made enemies and given Lily that outfit, none of this would have happened. She should be arrested. She should hand over her college admission to Lily. Ethan glared at me, eyes full of venom. Why would you call the cops? Are you crazy? Now everyone's going to know. I let out a cold laugh. If you care so much about Lily, don't you think she deserves the truth? Ethan, cornered, grabbed one of the officers by the arm and pointed at me. Officer, I'm Ethan Miller. I'm also a test candidate. I can testify, Yvette did this on purpose. She's always been jealous of Lily. She gave her the outfit meant for herself, deliberately made enemies with someone, and that person pushed Lily instead. It's attempted murder. You have to do something. The crowd exploded again. Yeah, that's right. She needs to be punished. But the officers raised their hands for silence. Then calmly one turned to Ethan. You're Ethan Miller? From Miller Village. Ethan blinked, confused. Yes. The officers looked at each other. Good. You're exactly who we're looking for. Without giving anyone time to react, they pulled out handcuffs and cuffed Ethan on the spot. The room went completely silent. Everyone had assumed I would be arrested. Everyone thought I was the easy target. No one had imagined the real criminal was standing right next to them. Ethan's expression contorted. What are you doing? One officer stepped forward. Because Yvette reported the incident right away, we launched an immediate investigation. We found witnesses. Following their leads, we tracked down the person who pushed Lily. After interrogation, he confessed and revealed who hired him. The officer turned toward Ethan. You. Lily sat up in her bed, dazed. No. That's not possible. I don't believe it. I never did anything to him. Why would he hurt me? I lowered my gaze and stayed silent. She'd forgotten something. The man who pushed her had called out my name. She had responded. She had taken the fall meant for me. But I had no reason to remind her of that. Because this was always the plan. I had simply redirected the disaster onto the one who created it. The silence in the hospital room was deafening. No one moved. No one spoke. Lily stared blankly at Ethan, her mouth hanging slightly open. Her fingers clutched the bedsheet, knuckles white. Ethan, on the other hand, looked like he'd been hit by a truck. It wasn't me, he shouted, thrashing in the officer's grip. There has to be a mistake. You're arresting the wrong person. But the officers remained calm. According to the suspect's statement, you hired him and paid a deposit in advance. You told him exactly which girl to target. You said she'd be wearing a new outfit and taking the eastern path to the test center. You also said she might respond to the name Yvette. The Chong family gasped. Even Lily covered her mouth. Ethan, she whispered. You plan to push Yvette into the river? No, he cried, voice cracking. That wasn't supposed to happen. I didn't think he'd really do it. The officers didn't flinch. You paid him to interfere with a national-level examination. You instructed him to use physical force to delay or injure a test candidate. That's a crime. You not only disrupted a federal process, you endangered someone's life. You will be prosecuted accordingly. Ethan dropped to his knees, still cuffed, begging. Please. Please let me explain. I did it for Lily. Just for her. He looked at Lily desperately. I didn't mean for you to get hurt. I didn't know you'd be wearing that outfit. You were never supposed to be on that path. Yvette was. This is all her fault. She set me up. Everyone turned to look at me. But I stood quietly in the corner, letting Ethan scream. Because the more he talked, the more everyone saw him for what he truly was. Yvette gave me that outfit, Lily said, voice trembling. She told me not to take the eastern path. She said it might be dangerous. I thought she was just being dramatic. Her voice broke. I didn't know. I didn't know you wanted to hurt her. Ethan's eyes were wide with panic. He tried to crawl toward her. Lily. No. Please, I only did this so you could go to college. So we could be together. You know how much I love you. The look on her face made it clear. She didn't believe him anymore. One of the officers tugged Ethan to his feet. Let's go. Wait, he shouted. Yvette, help me. Say something. I took a slow step forward. For a second I let my gaze soften. I knelt down to his eye level, tilted my head. You remember what you said to me? I whispered. Back in that other life? He blinked, confused. You said, yeah, it was my fault that I hired someone to push you into the water. But I already married you, didn't I? You got a husband with a college degree. Isn't that enough? His breath caught. I smiled. Now I'll return the favor. Yeah, it was your fault that Lily got pushed into the water. But you already loved her, didn't you? You got to be with her for years. Isn't that enough? And then I stepped back and watched them drag him away. The Chong family was in shambles. They tried to protest, to bargain, to plead, but it was no use. The truth had come out. Their carefully crafted image of Lily's innocence was shattered. Ethan was gone. Their hopes of status through a college-educated son-in-law were gone. And now so was I. I walked out of the hospital without looking back. Weeks later, the results of the college entrance exam came in. I passed. Top scores, in fact. Better than I had ever dreamed of. When the acceptance letter arrived, I held it in my hands, trembling. Not from fear. From freedom. I packed my things and left the village. No ceremony. No goodbye. Lily's family tried to reach me once or twice. I ignored them. Ethan's trial made headlines briefly. He was sentenced to several years in prison for exam interference and attempted assault. In court he looked for me again. I didn't attend. Some people don't deserve closure. Me. I went to college. I built a life. I made friends who didn't want anything from me. Professors who believed in my abilities. A future that belonged solely to me. I'd been pushed once. But I'd climbed back up. No. No one would ever push me again.